If I had died that week, everyone would have called it tragic. A young woman. A mountain road. Failed brakes. 3 days in a coma. A grieving husband. A devoted stepmother making impossible medical decisions through tears. People would have brought casseroles. They would have whispered about how unfair life is. They would have praised Jeanette Harlow for her strength. And no one would have known that while machines breathed for me, she was standing at the foot of my hospital bed trying to make sure I never breathed on my own again. "Don't rush to wake her," she said softly. "Let the paperwork finish what it started." That was the first clear sentence I heard after the darkness. I could not open my eyes. I could not move my arms. A ventilator shoved air into my lungs in cold, measured bursts. Hiss. Push. Hiss. Push. The room smelled like disinfectant, waxed floors, stale coffee, and flowers that had no business being in an ICU. Then another voice spoke. "My stepsister, Kelsey." "What about Grant?" "My husband." Jeanette answered without hesitation. "He signed nothing." "I have authority." My fingers were curled into the hospital sheet. I kept them perfectly still. Because in that moment, trapped inside my own body, I understood something terrifying. I was not only fighting to wake up. I was fighting to survive the people waiting beside my bed. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where the deepest wounds are often inflicted by family. If you're new here, subscribe and stay with us, because this story is unforgettable. Let's begin. The conversation in that ICU happened on a Monday. But the road to that room began years earlier, with a wedding in June. My father, Douglas Myers, married Jeanette Harlow when I was 17. I remember the wedding because it was the first time I had seen him cry since my mother died. At my mother Lauren's funeral, it had snowed. The parking lot was white. My father held my hand so tightly that my fingers hurt. At Jeanette's wedding, sunlight poured through a backyard garden. My father stood in a gray suit looking stunned, grateful, almost boyish, as if life had unexpectedly offered him another chapter. Jeanette was not cruel then. Or if she was, she hid it beautifully. She had short brown hair, practical shoes, and the efficient energy of a woman who always knew where the receipts were kept. She brought casseroles. She remembered birthdays. She asked if I needed gas money for college. Her daughter, Kelsey, was 14 and awkward and stood beside me in a dress she hated, rolling her eyes at everything. We were not sisters exactly, but we were close enough to fake it in photographs. Then my father got sick. First chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Then lung cancer. Then years of oxygen tanks, medications, scans, coughing fits, hospital visits, and the slow humiliations illness brings. Jeanette became his caretaker. She drove him to oncology appointments in a sedan with a cracked dashboard. She organized pills in color-coded trays. She learned how to lift him when he was weak. She slept on a cot beside his hospital bed during the last 3 months of his life. I watched all of it. And because I watched all of it, I trusted her. That matters. Because evil is rarely introduced wearing horns. Usually it arrives carrying soup. My father died 14 months before I woke in that ICU. He was 67. I was 28, newly married to Grant Myers, working from home as a freelance designer. Grant built things for a living. Decks. Foundations. Additions. Roof framing. He came home dusty, tired, hungry, and happy. He loved ordinary life in a way that made it sacred. He never forgot to kiss my forehead when leaving. He always called on Tuesdays at noon. Always. When my father's mind began to fade under morphine, he asked me to sign paperwork. A healthcare power of attorney. At Jeanette's wedding, sunlight poured through a backyard garden. My father stood in a gray suit, looking stunned, grateful, almost boyish, as if life had unexpectedly offered him another chapter. Jeanette was not cruel then. Or if she was, she hid it beautifully. She had short brown hair, practical shoes, and the efficient energy of a woman who always knew where the receipts were kept. She brought casseroles. She remembered birthdays. She asked if I needed gas money for college. Her daughter, Kelsey, was 14 and awkward and stood beside me in a dress she hated, rolling her eyes at everything. We were not sisters exactly, but we were close enough to fake it in photographs. Then my father got sick. First chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, then lung cancer, then years of oxygen tanks, medications, scans, coughing fits, hospital visits, and the slow humiliations illness brings. Jeanette became his caretaker. She drove him to oncology appointments in a sedan with a cracked dashboard. She organized pills in color-coded trays. She learned how to lift him when he was weak. She slept on a cot beside his hospital bed during the last 3 months of his life. I watched all of it. And because I watched all of it, I trusted her. That matters. Because evil is rarely introduced wearing horns. Usually, it arrives carrying soup. My father died 14 months before I woke in that ICU. He was 67. I was 28, newly married to Grant Myers, working from home as a freelance designer. Grant built things for a living. Decks, foundations, additions, roof framing. He came home dusty, tired, hungry, and happy. He loved ordinary life in a way that made it sacred. He never forgot to kiss my forehead when leaving. He always called on Tuesdays at noon. Always. When my father's mind began to fade under morphine, he asked me to sign paperwork. A healthcare power of attorney. He wanted Jeanette listed as my medical decision-maker if anything happened. I was 23 then. Single. Healthy. And Jeanette felt like family. My father handed me a pen. I signed without reading carefully. I should have read every word. I should have asked questions. I should have remembered that trust is not the same thing as proof. But youth believe disasters belong to older people. So I signed. And years later, lying silent in a hospital bed, I paid for it. The last normal morning of my life began with basil. Saturday. Sunlight over the sink. Grant had left before dawn for a concrete pour. I wore his old college sweatshirt and watered the basil plant on the kitchen windowsill. It had gone leggy. I kept meaning to trim it. My phone rang at 7:15. Jeanette. She sounded cheerful, which should have warned me immediately. Tori, sweetheart. Kelsey's at the cabin this weekend and keeps saying she misses you. The gutters need cleaning. Why don't you come up? Girls' weekend. The cabin belonged to my father. 2 hours north, beyond Tillman Ridge, where roads narrowed into switchbacks and pine forest. I had not visited since his funeral. 3 days earlier, Kelsey had texted me saying she felt disconnected and wanted to rebuild family ties. So when Jeanette invited me, guilt did the rest. I said yes. Grant called as I pulled onto the highway. You sure you don't want company? I'm sure. Call when you get there. I always do. The first hour was easy. The second climbed into the mountains. Around mile marker 42, I touched the brakes and felt the pedal sink farther than it should. I pumped once. Caught. Twice. Soft again. My hands tightened on the wheel. The next curve dropped sharply. Guardrail to the right. Ravine beyond it. I pressed harder. Nothing. The steering wheel shuddered. Metal screamed. Glass burst white. And my last thought before impact was absurdly small. I forgot to trim the basil. Then nothing. When awareness returned, it came in fragments. Beeping. For seconds apart. Ventilator. Dry mouth. Weightless numbness. Darkness behind my eyelids. Then voices. Then the truth. Tuesday is too late. She wouldn't want machines. I have authority. I wanted to move. Nothing. I wanted to scream. Nothing. I wanted to live. That at least remained. The next morning, Jeanette returned with Kelsey. I learned their presence by scent before sound. Lavender hand cream. Vanilla perfume. Paper rustling. A folder opened. Jeanette lowered her voice, but not enough. Douglas set up the trust so she gets it at 30. How much? Kelsey asked. Just over 4 million. Silence. Then Kelsey whispered, she turns 30 this week. Thursday, Jeanette said. Midnight. The room became colder than any ICU should be. I knew about the trust vaguely. My mother's life insurance had been invested years ago. My father once told me it would transfer when I turned 30. I had never obsessed over it because I had never needed to. Money that arrives later feels imaginary when rent is due now. But Jeanette knew the details. Every detail. If she's alive at distribution, it goes to her, Jeanette said. And if she dies before? Kelsey asked. It reverts to Douglas's estate. Which means, to me, there are moments when reality changes shape so suddenly you feel it physically. That was one. My stepmother had not come to sit beside my bed in grief. She had come to wait beside a clock. I lay there while a machine breathed for me, and the woman who once packed my father's lunch quietly timed my death against a legal deadline. Later that day, Kelsey asked the question I had been too numb to form. What about Grant? I told him she's stable and sedated, Jeanette said. No visitors recommended. My chest tightened. Grant was 40 minutes away, not overseas, not unreachable. He believed professionals. He respected boundaries. He would never barge into an ICU if told it would harm me. Jeanette knew that. She weaponized decency. Night brought the only kindness in that place. Her name was Donna Kowalski. She came on the 10 o'clock shift. Low voice. Practical shoes. Warm hands smelling faintly of soap. Unlike others, she spoke to me. All right, sweetheart, checking lines. She adjusted tubes, checked monitors, and smoothed my blanket. People underestimate tenderness done professionally. But when you are trapped inside silence, a gentle touch feels like rescue. Donna kept a notebook in her scrub pocket. Every shift, every patient, every observation. Timestamps. Details. She wrote something, clicked her pen shut, and, before leaving, said softly, "You hang in there." I wanted to tell her I was trying. Day 2, Jeanette and Kelsey returned. They thought I was gone. That made them careless. The mechanic did exactly what I asked, Jeanette murmured. My heart monitor accelerated instantly. Kelsey hissed, "Mom, the machine." We all froze. I forced my breathing to slow. Eventually, the beeping steadied. Kelsey whispered, horrified, "You said the brakes failed." They did fail, Jeanette replied coolly. I helped them fail. There are lies you suspect. Then there are confessions you hear with your own ears. She had sabotaged my car. She had sent me onto a mountain road expecting gravity to finish the job. And now she sat beside me, planning phase 2. That afternoon, she argued with a doctor in the hallway. I later learned his name was Dr. Callahan. There is measurable brain activity, he said. We need more observation. I have the directive, Jeanette insisted. Protocol still applies. How long? 72 hours. Her voice sharpened. That's too long. Because 72 hours would carry me dangerously close to midnight Thursday. To my birthday. To the trust distribution. To her, losing everything. That night, I began counting patterns. Shift changes. Meal carts. Footsteps. Door hinges. When Donna came. When Jeanette left. I could not control my body, but I could map time. Between 2 and 6 in the morning, the room stayed quiet. I used those hours to test myself. Toe. Nothing. Again. A flicker. Pain shot through my leg like electricity. Good. Pain meant a signal. I practiced fingers next. My left hand answered first. Tiny contractions beneath the sheet. Open. Close. Open. Close. I tried my voice. Only air. No sound. But progress is progress, even when microscopic. The next night, Donna checked my pulse. My finger twitched. Her hand stilled. "Tori," she whispered. "Can you hear me?" I poured every ounce of effort into my index finger. Flex. Deliberate. She did not gasp. Did not shout. Did not run for help. She simply held my hand tighter. Then I heard pen on paper. Later, I learned what she wrote. 2:14 a.m. Voluntary finger flex X2. Possible awareness. Before leaving, she squeezed my hand once. Code understood. You are not alone. Night 4, she closed the door behind her. Tori, 1 squeeze for yes. 2 for no. I squeezed once so hard my hand cramped. Are you in pain? 1. Can you open your eyes? 2. Do you want me to call someone? 1. Grant? 1. I nearly cried. Is his number in your phone? 2. She was silent for a moment. Then closer, quieter. I don't trust your stepmother. My heart pounded. She says your husband is overseas. I don't believe her. I'm going to pull old records and find him. I squeezed until my fingers trembled. But listen carefully, Donna said. Do not let anyone know you're conscious. Not yet. One squeeze. Sometimes survival requires stillness. Wednesday morning, Jeanette arrived early, energized. I heard papers, phone calls, lawyer language, emergency petition, compassionate withdrawal, court order. She had found a way around hospital protocol. If a judge signed, she could force the removal of life support before midnight. Before my 30th birthday. Before the money was transferred. I had less than 12 hours. At 12:15 p.m., while the day shift was distracted, Donna called Grant from the break room. I learned later how it went. Mr. Myers, this is Donna Kowalski from Ridgeview Medical Center. Your wife is in the ICU. Silence. Then what? She has been here since Saturday. My stepmother said she was resting. No visitors. Sir, Donna asked carefully, who told you that? Jeanette. Another pause. Then his voice changed. Not louder. Colder. Is my wife alive? Yes. Can she hear? Yes. I'm coming. Donna told him to use the east entrance at 10 p.m. Not the front desk. Jeanette had flagged access. At 9:47 that night, I heard heavy footsteps trying not to run. The door opened. Donna spoke first. She can hear you. Then he was beside me. Concrete dust. Soap. Cold air from outside is clinging to his jacket. Grant. He took my hand in both of his. I'm here, he whispered, voice breaking. I'm here, baby. I squeezed with everything left in me. He inhaled sharply. Then silence. The kind made by a grown man crying as quietly as possible. Donna explained everything. The forged authority. The visitor lies. The trust deadline. The break confession. Her notebook. When she finished, Grant asked only one question. What do we do? Call a lawyer, Donna said. Then call the police. He never released my hand that night. At dawn, he kissed my forehead and left before Jeanette arrived. Wednesday became a war conducted in whispers. Grant contacted Martin Falk, the attorney who drafted my father's trust. 71 years old. Sharp mind. Little patience for nonsense. Falk confirmed the numbers. $4.2 million. Automatic distribution at 12:01 a.m. Thursday. If I died first, estate reversion. Jeanette receives everything. If I lived past midnight, she received nothing. Grant then contacted county detectives. Donna provided copies of notes. Time-stamped observations. Visitor restrictions. Push for withdrawal. Confessions overheard through cracked doors. Dr. Callahan confirmed my improving neurological signs. Then came the biggest discovery. The healthcare directive Jeanette gave the hospital was altered. My original document was 3 pages. The version in her folder was 4. An added page granted authority to withdraw life-sustaining treatment. My signature sat neatly at the bottom. Except forensic review showed it was a scanned copy digitally inserted. Jeanette had forged permission to kill me using my own name. Police decided to wait. If arrested too early, they might lose evidence of the court order fraud. Grant hated it. But he understood strategy. Sometimes you let a trap close before you spring it. Thursday morning. My birthday. I knew it only because dawn felt different. Lighter. Quieter. Somewhere, legally, midnight had passed. I was 30. Alive. At 8 o'clock Jeanette and Kelsey arrived. Confident footsteps. Rustling papers. We need Dr. Callahan immediately, Jeanette announced outside my room. I have a court order authorizing. The door opened. A male voice interrupted. Jeanette Harlow? Yes. Detective Morrison. County Sheriff's Office. Silence. Then. Kelsey Harlow, please remain where you are. What is this? Kelsey squeaked. Jeanette Harlow and Kelsey Harlow, you are under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, and forgery. Jeanette tried to speak. At that exact moment, I opened my eyes. 5 days of darkness shattered into fluorescent light. The room blurred, then sharpened. Monitor screens. 4 poles. Curtains glowing with morning sun. Grant in the doorway. Donna beside him. Dr. Callahan behind the officers. And Jeanette at the foot of my bed holding papers that no longer mattered. Her mouth opened. No speech. Just recognition. You failed. Officers cuffed her. Kelsey collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Grant crossed the room and took my hand. Donna's eyes filled, but she blinked it back. Jeanette was led away, still staring at me as if the dead had violated some agreement by returning. 2 hours later, Martin Falk entered carrying a briefcase and a birthday card. He opened a folder. As of 12:01 a.m. today, he said, the Douglas R. Myers Irrevocable Trust has fully vested in the sole beneficiary, Victoria Lauren Myers. He adjusted his glasses. Current value, $4,217,000. Grant squeezed my hand. It's yours, Falk said. No conditions. No contingencies. Mrs. Harlow has no claim. I tried to speak. My throat burned from the tube. Only one word came out. Thank you. Then I looked at Donna. No, I rasped. You. She smiled once. Small. Almost embarrassed. For the record, she said while leaving, your vitals were never as flat as they told me. Recovery was slower than justice. 3 weeks in the hospital. 2 months of rehab. My legs returned first, shaky and offended. My voice sounded like gravel for weeks. Grant said he would listen to me read appliance manuals if it meant hearing me talk. Jeanette's mechanic cooperated within 48 hours. Phone records, payments, messages, forged documents, and Donna's notes built a mountain no lawyer could climb. Jeanette was convicted. Kelsey took a plea deal. She wrote me a 4-page apology from county detention. I read every word. I did not reply. Some damage is structural. You do not repair a cracked bridge with regret. The house my father left Jeanette became subject to forfeiture and civil proceedings tied to the crimes. Eventually I sold it. I folded the proceeds into the trust. My mother's money. My father's house. Back where they belonged. 6 months later, I was home at my desk again. Same spare bedroom. Different walls. I painted them pale green. Grant said it looked like a clinic. I said it looked like a room where someone still got to choose colors. I was designing a logo for a bakery when my phone rang. Noon Tuesday. Grant. How's the logo? Too floral. He laughed. That laugh still surprised him every time. Need anything on my way home? Just you. Deal. After we hung up, I went to the kitchen. The basil plant sat on the sill in a new terracotta pot. The old one had cracked during the summer heat. I clipped 3 bright leaves for dinner. They smelled alive. Funny, the things that become holy after almost losing everything. A phone call. A Tuesday routine. Fresh basil. A husband's boots by the door. The right to choose paint. 1 year later, I returned to Ridgeview Medical Center through the east entrance. 4th floor. 10 p.m. Donna's shift. I waited near the stairwell, holding a white box tied with ribbon. Inside were a pair of nursing shoes with memory foam insoles and reinforced arches. I had researched what nurses wanted most. Apparently, the answer was always better shoes. Donna rounded the corner at 10:12. Same notebook. Same study walk. She stopped when she saw me. Tori. I handed her the box. She opened it, inspected one shoe like evidence, then looked up. You didn't have to. Yes, I said. I did. She tucked the box under one arm. We hugged once. Short. Tight. The kind of hug that says enough. Then she stepped back. Get out of here, she said, smiling. I have patience. I walked past room 412. Someone else's room now. Someone else's fight. Outside, autumn air smelled like cut grass and cold beginnings. I sat in my car before starting it. Some people save lives with scalpels. Some have money. Some with heroic speeches. Donna saved mine with a notebook, a suspicious mind, and a hand squeeze at 2:14 in the morning. I drove home with the windows down and my eyes wide open. If this story reminds you to update your healthcare directive, emergency contacts, or trust the instincts of one honest person in a room full of liars, take that seriously. And if someone in your life has been quietly carrying you through hard days, tell them today. Because survival is never only about breathing. Sometimes it is about who refuses to let you disappear.